So, a Lars episode that's actually good?
Biggest plot twist, this episode makes me want to talk about Lars.
Yes, it's a Christmas miracle. In May.
That makes it even more miraculous.
So, in this episode, Sadie gives Steven a taste of some pumpkin bread Lars made. Steven's impressed by how good it is, but soon enough, Buck shows up and invites them to the potluck the teens are having. Lars is nervous about going despite wanting to hang with Buck and the cool kids, but Steven and Sadie convince him to make something for it. He decides to make an ube roll, and Steven and Sadie thinks it's delicious and will work perfectly. Steven talks with Lars a bit, getting him to open up that he's worried at how uncool it might seem that he likes baking stuff. But Steven says if they don't appreciate him for it, it's their loss. But when Steven and later Sadie go to the potluck, Lars still hasn't shown up. Steven looks for him, tries to call him, but finds nothing except the roll in the trash, implying he gave up on it. After the potluck, Sadie and Steven head home, kinda disappointed Lars didn't show up. But once again, the two silhouettes appear as Sadie walks away.
Okay, so first thing I want to say about this episode, this isn't really going to go very far, but I have to say it, Lars has the biggest crush on Buck, and it's kind of cute.
That's one thing I noticed that. So, Lars is totally gay for Buck, right?
Or, they do keep going this, Lars loves Sadie thing. I kind of get more of a best friend love vibe off them.
Yeah. Especially after season 1 was a disaster for them.
Yeah, it was a real disaster for making, the idea of them being a couple look anything other than terrible. But, yeah, he has such a crush on Buck.
Yes.
These are just facts, people.
Yeah, especially in this series.
Oh, yeah. This show ain't scared of that.
No.
I am genuinely interested in this episode revealing about Lars, which it makes sense that I think we've had plenty of hints that he likes baking before. He works at the donut place. He probably bakes a lot. I think it's been mentioned before that he bakes most of the donuts that they sell there.
Also, something that people brought up is that there was that scene in Island Adventure where he ended up making the food that they actually liked. So...
yeah. So I've had hints that Lars is good at cooking before. We find out that he really likes, really likes cooking. He has this secret passion, and he's creative about it, and he's really good at it.
Yes.
But he's scared to impress it, because I think part of it is they never explicitly say it's not manly in the episode, but that's, I think a lot of people thought about that immediate stigma. When Lars mentioned that it's lame to cook. He doesn't like admitting that he really enjoys baking, but he does. And actually, I really enjoyed the middle part of this episode, which was just Lars practicing baking his ube roll, and it was just him and Sadie and Steven hanging out and doing something Lars really enjoys and makes him happy to do. We really don't see Lars as a happy person very often.
Yes. Also, I think the simple fact of why this episode worked, there's reasons it worked, but the simplest answer, and let me just say this very clearly, no one was an asshole!
Yeah, everyone in it was we already knew that Buck, Jenny, and Sour Cream are groovy people. They're pretty cool to Steven.
Yes.
And they're cool to Sadie when they wind up hanging out with her. I love them all playing music together and getting Sadie comfortable enough to sing to them.
And when no one was an asshole, Lars also wasn't an asshole to anyone.
I love him actually opening up when Steven asks him to about his concerns about baking. That was great.
Not only that, he was not an asshole and was still entirely in character.
Yeah. But we finally got Lars in the context of something that he wants, and it unlocks a big part of his character. And, part of his social anxiety being genuinely afraid that people will think won't like him for something that he likes and is good at. And there's also, I think there's another dimension here which, disclaimer first, this is mostly me quoting other fan discussions I've seen because it's not a conversation that I have any place in. But a lot of Filipino fans immediately identified the ube roll as, it's apparently a very iconically Filipino dessert. And a lot of people got really excited about the suggestion that, Lars is Filipino and what that adds to his character. And I keep thinking about the part where, Lars worries about bringing his weird cake to the potluck. And it's in the context that not just that he loves baking, but that he loves baking traditional foods that are a big part of his cultural heritage, but he's worried about how I'm making the biggest air quotes in the air here, but more American kids think of his weird food. It's a complaint you see a lot about kids who eat, again, making big air quotes, non-American, food, food that's a big part of their cultural heritage, but getting bullied at school for eating weird food at school. Yeah. Like, this is definitely something a lot... Or, it's happened, I've seen it happen too. I've seen it happen to, there was a Japanese...
That's stupid. That is so stupid that happened.
My school in Scotland, there was, it was a super white, tiny ass town. There was one Japanese guy in my year, and he didn't often bring Japanese food into school because he dealt with a lot of shit. Like, his name was Yusuke Onishi. And teachers very rarely gave a shit about trying to pronounce his name right. Like, in first year, one teacher asked if he could just call him Benji instead. Because he couldn't... Yusuke's not even a hard name to pronounce.
Yes, it's Yus and it's K. Yusuke.
It's written Yusuke. It's pronounced Yusuke. You hear that once and you know Yusuke.
Yes.
Mainly, I think, to be honest, mostly... I didn't know any other teenagers mocking him because of his name. We mostly mocked the teachers. But some people were still like, ew, what's that weird food you've got? And I think that can really affect a person to, bring in food that's connected to who they are and how they look and how they're perceived by, again, this is not something I have personally experienced. I grew up a white girl in Scotland, I didn't personally experience any of this shit. But I have seen a lot of people talking about their experiences with this kind of thing and how strongly it can affect them. So if Lars has had experiences with bringing Filipino food, especially Filipino food he's made himself, and being mocked for having weird food, then that also adds a lot of dimension to his stress about wanting to be in with the cool kids and wanting to be accepted, but struggling with it and pushing down who he is because he feels like just being who he is, he can't be accepted. So I think, it immediately adds an interesting dimension to a lot of Lars's assholery as internalized self-hatred.
Yes.
And it makes it a lot more genuinely sweet to see how much Sadie and Steven love the ube roll and are so supportive of him making one and take it to the potluck. And it seems, and just from what we as the audience know about Buck and Jenny and Sour Cream, they would have loved the ube roll. They would have been super excited about Lars bringing this interesting, different kind of food. And they would have tried it and they wouldn't have mocked him for it. I don't think we've ever seen Buck, Jenny, or Sour Cream mocking anybody for anything. And I think just from the way Sadie talks about Lars later in the episode, it's clear that, they don't know these other three very well, but Lars is probably seeing different people when he looks at them, if that makes sense. He's seeing people who have bullied him in the past, rather than Lars, Sour Cream, Jenny. They love the bingo bongo thing that Lars did, Yes. Buck is like, it was so cool, bingo bongo. I think Buck kind of likes Lars too. I think they could be good together.
Possibly.
The way he phrases it earlier in the episode, he's like, I want to order you to dinner.
Yeah, I would... That's right, but is that literally right after I said Lars is totally gay for Buck, I put, he invited Lars to dinner, and for like a split second I was like, what? I was not expecting this, but then it was like all the teams will be there, I'm like, oh, okay. But like for a split second, you're like, wait, what? I wasn't being entirely serious, I didn't expect this.
In that nanosecond, so many slash fics were born.
It's amazing. The timing. That is one of the best things, when you say something, not expecting it to actually happen, and then it happens.
I will love it if it turns out behind the scenes that Buck was trying to awkwardly ask Lars out to dinner, and then he chickened out the last second and was like, yeah, Jenny and Sour Cream will be there. And then he immediately ran out to Jenny and Sour Cream like, I told Lars we were going to have a potluck and you were going to be there. You going to come with me? And they're like, oh my god, Buck, just ask him out. You know? Yeah. That's what I fully believe happened behind the scenes. But, yeah, so... Oh.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, for the first time, I'm genuinely interested in Lars trying to get in with these three cool kids, and I know that they would be cool. They are, like I said, he says, they are not that they're, cool, but they're genuinely cool people.
Yeah. Though I do really have to ask a question. I feel it's kind of relevant. Why did it take so long to make a Lars episode like this?
Yeah, God, we could have done this a couple seasons ago.
Yeah. It's weird because they were starting to do the interesting things with Island Adventure, which, despite its flaws, I actually still really like that episode. Even, I'm not going to go into it. That episode is self-aware. It's Steven Universe. It knows what it's doing. But in the long term, it just didn't work out for whatever they were trying to do with Lars, which is why it took until season 4 to do something like this. That's my best guess.
It has been a pattern with Lars episodes to start to do something interesting with him, like in the context of his relation with Sadie, with Ronaldo, and then to backtrack on it right at the end so it doesn't go anywhere, which is what I thought had happened with this episode until...
My prediction at the beginning of the episode, because it's a Lars episode, I assumed Lars will be good for selfish reasons, and then will status quo by the end. And I was pleasantly surprised to be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I was sad that Lars didn't go, because I also found myself really wanting Lars to get what he wants and be happy. Just because he's a more interesting character when he is, frankly. And it would just... Oh, I was so hoping for the warm fuzzies I get for that. Because, yeah.
At least now, Lars is a character I can actually follow and care about.
Yeah, he really needed this episode.
Yes.
This was really necessary for Lars. It had a lot of good moments. I love the little bit when Steven prompts him to open up, and he does. That was unexpected, but also, I think it does make sense in the context of how Steven and Lars' relationship has developed by this point. Especially that he's not opening up in front of Sadie, but he can open up to Steven. And I also love how, when Steven gives him advice, he listens to it, he takes it in, and he goes, when did you get so grown up? And Steven's just like, somewhere between learning to summon my shield and finding out my mom was a war criminal.
Yes. Amazing line.
Just the phrase war criminal being in a show for young children.
Yes. I love that. I do love that. In Sworn to the Sword, I loved in the middle of that song where Pearl was talking about the war.
Yeah.
It amuses me to no end. And it will never get old, Steven casually mentioning his messed up past and history with the gems.
No, never. I'm sure there are no real world reasons why Rebecca Sugar wants to teach children the concept of a war criminal. I'm sure there is absolutely no way that is relevant to any child's day-to-day life right now.
Nope.
Absolutely not. Oh, I also... other things I love about the potluck, the fact that they bring soda, pizza, and random assorted fruit is, I believe, further proof for my theory that they all just decided it was a potluck at the last minute after Buck chickened out to asking Lars to dinner.
That would make sense.
And
Yeah.
Sadie awkwardly bringing the paper plates for the cake and sour cream being like, hooray! Now I don't have to do the dishes. Which, okay, I've done that during university, I will confess. I had bags of paper plates for days when I just did
Paper
not
plates
have
are awesome.
Just, mostly I did dishes, but some days when I was, exhausted and just did not have the spoons to do the dishes, I'd eat off paper plates.
Yeah,
I know.
I totally get that.
I also love this celebration takes the form of switching off the light and throwing some glow sticks that he had prepared in his pockets.
Though I think you're underselling the timing of it, which is what made it funny, is that he says, hooray! He throws the rave sticks, and then he explained why he said hooray and threw the rave sticks.
Oh, it's fantastic. I love it.
But yeah, I totally get that, because there have been times when I've come home from work, and it's just me and my brother, and whoever makes the food, is the other person does dishes, or vice versa, and especially if he makes the food, I'm like, oh great, I have to do the dishes, and I really don't want to right now. Yeah. Actually, during one of the times when my legs were just badly hurting, I actually convinced my brother to get takeout just so I wouldn't have to do the dishes either, and have to stand.
That's fair enough. I remember a friend of mine who used to do that a lot because she had back problems. She could not stand at the sink and wash dishes for long periods. And I remember people giving her shit about it, and she's like, okay, between the back and the depression, this is I don't care if it's an easy chore for you, it's a really difficult chore for me. Do not give me shit for using paper plates.
I would never give the healthiest person shit for using paper plates.
Yeah, we've all been there. I love all their excitement over giving Sadie the beanbag. They all love the beanbag, and they want to give her the beanbag to make her comfy, which is very sweet.
I fit.
Yeah, beanbags are the comfiest.
Also, there was that potluck son. That was just silly.
I'm still just so happy to see Sadie feeling comfortable enough to sing with these people, because we've seen her anxiety about singing in front of people. But she's having fun making the potluck song with them. It's just so sweet.
Anyone want to do some deep lyrical analysis of this song?
There is one word in this song. At various pitches.
Yes. Oh yeah, also, I just want to say, pumpkin bread shaped like a pumpkin is an awesome idea that someone should do.
Yes, I'm sure someone is already trying to figure out the recipe.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's already been done.
I mean, Lars does describe how he did it, so, even if the exact recipe isn't in the show, if you know how to make a pumpkin-flavored sponge, then you're already there. I also love the line when Steven's looking for Lars, he goes, I'll contact him with my mind! Or my phone!
Yes, and he screams at his phone. Yeah. Lars!
Yeah, it doesn't work. I like his little conversation with Sadie at the end where she talks about how she... Also, again, we've repeatedly seen Sadie pushing aside dealing with her own feelings to help Lars deals with his. So I think it's small but important when she says, maybe I should be trying to fix my life instead of his.
That's one of those things that, there are some shows where I feel like how she worded all that would be kind of poor writing, but in this series it works, if that makes sense. In another series, I feel like it would have been just, oh, this is my problem. Let me explain it clearly to the audience, but in here it actually works and feels natural, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Again, these kind of character episodes work because we have 4 seasons worth of tidbits with these characters by this point.
Yes. I think not only that, but I feel like the style of the writing and some of the things that the series does, things like this fit where they might not have in other series.
Yeah. And it's always so earnest about very real problems that people deal with. I think especially, it's so sweet that Sadie really wants to help Lars be a happy person. Now I want to help Lars be a happy person. But I think it's a good point that it should not be at the expense of her finding her own happiness.
Yes. And I do like the fact that she wish I could force him to be happy, and then she immediately is like, it's probably not a good thing.
It's like, oh, I saw my mother.
True.
Yeah. You also can't force other people to be happy because you want them to be happy. Like, ultimately we find out Lars still, at the end, could not bring himself to go. Everyone can see that he probably would have been found himself happy if he'd gone and brought Zube. He didn't, and that's just also his choice when he's ready for that.
Yeah.
Also, Shudder to stop ending episodes on those fucking shadows. Like, we're feeling good about Sadie being happy, a little bit sad about Lars, Steven and Sadie part ways, shadows, episode ends. Fuck's sakes.
Yes. There were a couple other things I liked. I liked Steven freaking out about learning about the ube roll. It's like, potatoes can be sweet? And the way he freaks out about yams.
Yams!
He has like this goofy, like, grin on his face. It's great.
That's adorable.
I love the way, I liked when he says like, open up about your feelings. It was almost like something Mabel would have done in Gravity Falls.
Oh my god. Oh, Steven and... I don't know, I've never thought about it before, but now I really want to see Steven and Mabel hang out.
I think when it was still airing, everyone wanted a Gravity Falls Steven Universe crossover.
Yeah, what was with that Uncle Grandpa shit? Nobody wants that.
Well, the difference is that...
Steven hang out with Mabel and Dipper.
That was literally only done because the creators of both shows are, like, know each other and wanted to do something for a long time. And this just was convenient. So that's why that episode happened.
See, I know Gravity Falls is like, it's done and they're not going to make any more because they told the story they want to tell and they stop in there, which I think is a good thing. It's a lot of integrity towards that story. But I do still think it would be cute to show, like, just have a one-off episode of Mabel and Dipper visiting Peach City. Just what? Because, I mean, Dipper's into that fantastical shit. He'd be so interested in the Crystal Gems.
Yes, he would.
Mabel probably has a sweater that looks like Steven's t-shirt.
Yes.
Actually, did she not wear one like that in one episode?
She might have. She had a lot of sweaters.
She had so many sweaters.
Now I'm sad because I'm reminded that there will never be a new episode of Gravity Falls.
Although, I love Alex Hirsch's Twitter freakouts when he's like, oh my god, everything I say about Gravity Falls is canon. Mabel's middle name is Bibble now. It's canon. It's fact now because I said it. This is too much power.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have a lot more to say about this episode, but just, god damn, it was a good episode.
Yes, it was. Oh yeah, also I kind of made the point that, like, when Lars was like, didn't know if he would actually like, Lars baking things, I just put, dude, if people liked horribly awkward Steven Lars, they'll like baking Lars, no problem.
Oh, easily.
Was that the point of that episode? To just make Steven and Lars' party so awkward that it made Lars likable by comparison?
Maybe.